Hello friends, this is Dr. Sunaina Lulla. Today's topic of discussion is development of phase and paraoral structures along with its significance. There's a few contents which we have to read about prenatal development, basic embryology, development of phase and anomalies related to phase, development of palate, tongue, nose, external ear, eye, and some important intrauterine days. Okay, what properly the development is? Development is a process of maturation which includes prenatal development, that is before birth development, natal development, that is at the time of birth, and postnatal development, that is after birth. Prenatal development, it is occupies approximately 10 lunar months or 36 to 40 weeks, which is further divided into 23 stages or horizons. And prenatal development has three phases. First is germinal phase, embryonic phase, and fetal phase. Germinal phase is with formation of germ layers, and embryonic phase is with the development of embryo when the developing zygote or developing ovum is 2 months old, till it is called as embryo, and after which it is called as fetus, that is after 2 months the embryo is called as. And now, beginning with what development is, some basic concept of fertilization. What is fertilization? It is fusion of oocyte with spermatozoon to form a unicellular unit called as zygote, which undergoes a cleavage to form 16 cell morula, and when fluid enters inside the morula it forms a blastocyst. What is the result of fertilization? The fertilization result in the formation of diploid number of chromosome, determination of sex, and after which there is initiation of subdivision of zygote which forms cleavage. Okay, this morula has inner cell mass, outer cell mass. Inner cell mass, which is embryo proper, and outer cell mass is called as trophoblast, which provides nutrition to embryo. Now the morula, which is formed by division of zygote, is 16 cell stage, has a inner aggregation of cell and outer cell. Inner cell with the is called as inner cell mass, outer cell is called as trophoblast, as we saw, which provides nutrition. With entry of fluid, the inner cell mass is attached to one side of embryo, and there is formation of cavity. So the complete embryo now is called as blastocyst, and the cavity is called as blastocele. And the site to which the embryo proper or inner cell mass is attached, it forms the pole of embryo, which is called as embryonic pole or animal pole, and opposite pole is called as embryonic pole. Okay. Now the inner cell mass of embryo further goes in changes. The outer layer of it becomes flat. This flat cells forms the first germ layer, that is endoderm. That is endoderm. First germ layer is endoderm, formed by flattening of inner cell mass cells, and the remaining cells of inner cell mass becomes columnar in shape and forms ectoderm. Also, the trophoblast cells and ectodermal cells, there appears a cavity between them, which is called as amniotic cavity. Okay, which has amniotic fluid, and the cells further, which cells, endodermal cells further grow downwards, laterally and downwards, and covers the complete cavity of a blastocyst and forms primary yolk sac, and the lining of primary yolk sac is called as Hausser's membrane. This is how the plate looks when there is fluid along with a downward growth of endodermal cells and primary yolk sac. Now, between this flat endodermal cells and trophoblast, there is formation of some cells which are the mesodermal cells, extra embryonic mesodermal cells or primary mesodermal cells. And along with mesodermal cells, there is formation of small cavities which forms of one large cavity, the white which cavity which is being seen is called as coelomic cavity, which divides the mesoderm into two parts: parietal mesoderm and visceral mesoderm. Parietal mesoderm is on the side or lining of embryonic cavity, and on the visceral mesoderm is on the lining of the yolk sac. As the yolk sac further becomes smaller in size, it gets converted. Now, after formation of both the germ layers, a few cells of endodermal origin becomes columnar and forms a disc-like shape that is called as precaudal plate. They becomes columnar and forms a precaudal plate, which decides now the head and tail ends of the embryo. Okay, and somewhere in the embryo, the tall columnar cells, which are ectodermal cells, show an elevation. This elevation is called as primitive streaks. When the cells of primitive streaks laterally, grows laterally, and it gets incorporated between this endoderm and ectoderm. Between this endoderm and ectoderm, these cells of primitive streaks gets incorporated and forms the third germ layer, which is called as mesoderm. You can clearly visualize this tall columnar ectodermal cells, flat endodermal cells, and these are the lateral cells of primitive streaks, which forms the mesoderm by this folding. Okay, this is the same process explained by formation of this primitive streak, precaudal plate, primitive streaks, and the elevation of primitive streak is primitive knot, and this knot leads to formation, grows cranially and leads to formation of a process or rod-like thickening, which is called as notochord. The notochord, which is formed by the primitive knot, which undergoes various phases, and it first forms the plate. The plate deepens at one sides to form a neural groove. The neural groove sides of neural groove slowly come closer to form a tube-like structure, which is called as neural tube, along with neural plate. And there are few cells which remain between the neural tube and neural plate. That cells are called as neural crest cells, which are responsible for development of brain and the spinal cord. So this is the structures also which are showing how the neural plate forms grooves, forms crest of the cells, and neural tube is formed according to this structure. With the formation of neural tube, the folding of embryo, that is flattening and moving or folding of embryo on cranial and caudal ends, begin to form gut. The gut formed is also divided into three parts: foregut, midgut, and hindgut. Now, with the folding of embryo, various structures in the embryo can be well defined. The cranial part or the process eminence comes, which is frontal eminence. Then there is a caudal part. There is a bulge called as cardiac bulge. Between the frontal process and the cardiac bulge, there is a space which is called as stomodium, which is going to form future mouth. And this frontal process, prominence and cardiac bulge is separated by a gut structure, called as buccopharyngeal membrane. Coming up, so structure seen on 4 weeks of embryo are the placoids, which are lens placoid, nasal placoids. This is the cardiac bulge. This complete process is frontal process, and this separating between frontal and cardiac process is stomodium part, and few thickenings which are pharyngeal. Now, as we saw in the previous diagram, when embryo is 4 week old, the development of phase begins, and development of phase is completed. Sorry, development of phase is completed by 6th week. So development of face begins with or is done by three processes. First is frontal nasal process. Second is stomodium or the space between cardiac bulge and frontal prominence. And the first pharyngeal arch. So as first pharyngeal arch is involved in development of face, learning about pharyngeal arches is important. So what are pharyngeal arches? Pharyngeal arches are the mesodermal thickenings in the wall of foregut which are present. Actually there are six arches, but the fifth arch disappears and five only remains. Okay, and the pharyngeal arches, there is a interval between any two arches that forms the endodermal lining. This endodermal lining and deepening of arch at place forms pharyngeal pouches. And also on the opposite side of each pharyngeal pouch, there is also an ectodermal deepening. Sorry, with this endoderm returning, there is a typing mistake. There is deepening of ectoderm to form an ectodermal cleft. So each pharyngeal arch has a pharyngeal pouch on one side, ectodermal cleft on other side, and it has an components present between two. So each pharyngeal arch has three components: skeletal element which forms cartilage and bone, striated or muscle element, and the artery or the nerve of the particular. Okay, so this is the further development. This is the endodermal pouch deepening. That is, pouch is formed by endoderm, and on the opposite side there is deepening of ectoderm which forms a cleft, that is ectodermal cleft. And this endoderm and ectoderm includes few or encloses few structures of pharyngeal arches, that is like muscle, skeletal component, cartilage, and many more structures. This every structure of the arch has a particular derivative and its importance. The first arch which is formed has a cartilage called Meckel's cartilage. It also forms incus and malleus, which are the bone of ears. It forms muscles of mastication, and nerve of first arch is mandibular nerve. Second arch which is formed has a cartilage called as Reichert's cartilage. It forms tips, which is the bone of ear. It also forms a styloid process, and it also forms superior part of body of hyoid bone. The muscles formed by second arch are facial muscles, platysma muscles, stylohyoid muscles, and many more. The nerve of second arch is facial nerve. Third arch which is formed forms the part of hyoid bone, which is greater conio of hyoid bone, and muscle formed is stylopharyngeus muscle. The nerve of the arch is glossopharyngeal nerve. The fourth arch which is formed, fourth and sixth, both the arches actually forms the cartilages of larynx, and the fourth arch forms muscles of larynx and pharynx except cricothyroid muscle. Okay, and the superior laryngeal nerve is the nerve of fourth arch, and recurrent laryngeal nerve is the nerve of fifth arch. This structure shows the malleus, incus, and Meckel's cartilage, that is first arch, that is mandibular arch, styloid process, styloid ligament of second arch, parted body of hyoid bone, lesser conus, that is of third arch, thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, which are formed from fourth and sixth radial rings. Now, what the pharyngeal pouches form? The pharyngeal pouches derivatives are first and part of second pouch forms tubotympanic recess, that is the middle ear cavity. The middle ear and auditory tube. Second pouch forms palatine tonsil. Third pouch means inferior parathyroid gland. Here inferior is first to remember the point. And fourth pharyngeal arch forms superior parathyroid gland. Okay, these are the few genetics involved in development of face. The most important family of gene responsible for development of gene is Homburg's gene. Okay, and in specific, the genes which are Fomburg's family genes which are responsible for development of face proper are Brax MSX gene, which are more responsible. Okay, now development of face, as I prior told, has is done from frontonasal process and mandibular process. Mandibular process is nothing but the first pharyngeal arch. This mandibular process grows on the lateral side and divides into a or branches into another process above superiorly and forms a maxillary process. Okay, so the maxillary process both fuses to form upper lip, mandibular process fuses to form lower lip. Okay, and laterally where maxillary and mandibular, both the process when fused laterally they form cheek area. Okay, nose is from the frontal prominence or frontonasal process. Nasal cavity is also formed by placoids or nasal placoids. Okay, and paranasal sinuses are outgrowth of nasal cavities or nasal placoids. Okay, further we go and let's see this diagram. So the pink portion is frontonasal process, the blue portion is the mandibular process of first branchial arch. You can clearly see here the mandibular process uh, superiorly branches to form the maxillary process. This happens laterally. Now when we see the embryo from front side, what we can see, these are the structures that are lens placoids, these are nasal placoids, this is maxillary process, this is mandibular process, two lateral mandibular process came to in middle, and this is cardiac bulge. Okay, so here we can see the structures which were forming the nasal placoids here forms the nasal pit, and this nasal pit slowly deepens inside. As they deepens inside, they divide the frontonasal process into two parts. The part which is light yellow in color is the medial nasal process, and the part orange in color is the lateral nasal process. So as further there is deepening of nasal pit or nasal placoid, they go deeper, but the medial nasal process and the lateral nasal process slowly go down and meet here. Okay, so this leads to formation of nasal pits, and as this processes goes deeply, there is also thinning of the process, and this thinning of the process forms the area of the lip. So now coming to the structures which are formed, so the so as deepening upper lip is formed by the by the joining of or the fusion of maxillary process with lateral nasal process. Maxillary process, the blue color process, when fuses with orange color lateral nasal process, it forms upper lip. But the central portion of upper lip, that is philtrum, is formed by the fusion of lateral nasal process and middle nasal, sorry, philtrum of the upper lip is formed by the fusion of frontonasal process with medial nasal process. Again, to be very clear with the diagram, we will clearly see upper lip formed by the fusion of frontonasal process with lateral nasal process. Philtrum is formed and formed by the fusion of frontonasal process with medial nasal process. Okay, and the cheek area is formed by fusion of mandibular process with maxillary process on the lateral. So again a basic revision. Forehead is formed by frontal process. Okay. Nose is formed by medial nasal, lateral nasal process and part of frontonasal process. Lower lip is formed by fusion of two mandibular processes, and upper lip is formed by fusion of maxillary process, lateral nasal process and medial nasal process. So let's see this anomalies. So let's see these anomalies on diagrams. So first one is the normal well fusion of structures. Then this is unilateral cleft lip. This is due to improper fusion between maxillary process and medial nasal process. Okay. Then we have a bilateral cleft lip. The bilateral cleft lip is due to improper fusion of medial nasal process with frontonasal process. Okay. And then we have a oblique facial cleft lip. Oblique facial cleft lip is due to improper fusion between the maxillary process and lateral nasal process, which starts from the median angle of eye to the mouth. Okay. And when there is improper fusion between two mandibular processes, it forms mandibular cleft. When there is improper fusion between the maxillary and mandibular process which meet on the sides, this forms lateral facial cleft. Okay. Now begins with the development of palate. Development of palate begins with 6 to 8th week of intrauterine life, and it is continues till the 12th week of intrauterine life, till the soft palate formation is completed. Now as we learned the medial and lateral nasal process, when they fuse they form primitive palate. So this is the structure when we see from the when we have open when we open the mouth, and when we see in the cranial side, then we can see this is the frontonasal process. This is the this is the stomodium. This is the medial and lateral nasal process. Sorry, medial and lateral nasal process. When medial and lateral nasal process come close and fuses with frontonasal process in the area, they form primitive palate. Primitive palate is called as premaxilla. Premaxilla is formed by fusion of frontonasal process and medial and lateral nasal process. Now each maxillary process, these are the maxillary process, they grow a shelf-like areas. This maxillary process grows a shelf-like areas in the posterior margin. These are called as palatine processes. This palatine process, when they fuse in midline, they form primitive palate. The two palatal processes fuses in the midline. Okay. And the frontonasal process and medial nasal process form premaxilla, and from maxillary process there is the elevation or shelf like projections which are called as palatine processes, which fuse in the midline. So these are the structures which is formed. This is premaxilla formed by frontonasal process. This is the two palatine process which are formed from the maxillary process. And this area, posterior area of palatine process, forms the soft palate. So the mesoderm in the palate, undergoes intramembranous ossification. Intramembranous ossification of palatal process forms hard palate. Ossification does not extend more posterior, so the soft palate is not an ossified structure. So revising, there is a frontonasal process which grows and forms premaxilla. Then there is two lateral two palatine process which are formed from maxillary process. These three structures together forms the hard palate, and posterior area does not of this palate does not undergoes ossification or calcification and forms soft palate. Okay, so now the anomalies which leads to improper fusion of the palate. So this is complete proper palate. This is alveolus, this is hard palate, this is soft palate, this is upper lip. Okay, so this is normal structure. There we learned about the cleft lip. When this cleft lip extends to the palate, it is cleft lip and primary palate. When it extends more deeper from primary palate to a hard palate, it is called as unilateral cleft lip and palate. This cleft of lip and palate can be unilateral and can be bilateral. Unilateral or bilateral, there is a classification of cleft palate according to the distance it covers. So whether it grows up till only of lip, or it extends to primitive palate, or it extends to hard palate, or maybe sometimes it extends to soft palate also. So soft palate, there can be seen, this is the cleft of soft palate. And when there is a cleft of soft palate, there is presence of cleft which gives the resemblance of bifid uvula. Okay, now we continue with development of tongue. Now we are done with development of palate, development of face. Now we continue with development of tongue. So tongue development begins with fourth week of intrauterine life. The arches involved in development of tongue is first pharyngeal arch and third and fourth pharyngeal arches. So in the fourth week of development, two lingual swellings appears in the floor of pharynx, which are in relation to first pharyngeal arch. And during the median lingual swelling also appears from the first pharyngeal arch, which is called as tubercular impar. And from the third and fourth pharyngeal arches, there is another median swelling called as hypobronchial eminence, which develops during fifth week. This all structures fuses in particular sequence to form proper tongue. So tongue is formed in two parts: anterior two-third of tongue, which is formed by two lingual swellings, and tubercular impar, which is a median swelling. And posterior one-third of tongue is formed by the fusion of cranial part of hypobronchial eminence, which is formed from the third and fourth arches. Okay, so you can clearly see these two lingual swellings and the central swelling, which is tuberculum impar. These three structures are of first pharyngeal arch, forms anterior two-third of tongue. Sorry, and this is hypobronchial eminence, which is from third and fourth pharyngeal arch. You can see this first arch, two lingual swelling, tuberculum impar, and a little opening, which is this is called as foramen cecum. Okay, from third and fourth pharyngeal arch, there is formation of hypobronchial eminence, which has two parts: cranial part and caudal part. Cranial part of hypobronchial eminence forms anterior two-third of tongue. Means anterior two-third of tongue is sorry. So anterior two-third of tongue is formed from two lingual swellings: tuberculum impar, foramen cecum. And posterior one-third of tongue is formed by cranial part of hypobronchial eminence. Okay, so fusion of lingual swellings, tuberculum impar and foramen cecum forms anterior two-third of tongue, and fusion of cranial part of hypobronchial eminence forms posterior one-third of tongue. Anterior one-third of tongue and posterior one-third of tongue are separated by a small opening called as foramen cecum, or it is differentiated by foramen cecum. So by knowing the structures which develop from the bridge arch, we can give the nerve supply of tongue. So anterior two-third of tongue, as it is formed from first arch, the nerve of that arch is, or the nerve of anterior two-third of tongue is mandibular nerve, lingual branch of mandibular nerve. The posterior one-third of tongue is formed by hypobronchial eminence, that is from third pharyngeal arch, and nerve of that arch is glossopharyngeal nerve. Glossopharyngeal nerve, which is nerve of third arch for general and taste sensation, and posterior most part, which is formed from again from again from the hypobronchial eminence, but it is from fourth arch. So the nerve of fourth arch is superior laryngeal nerve. Okay, by this way we can give the nerve supply of anterior one third, posterior one third, and posterior most part. Anterior one third mandibular nerve and taste sensation by chorda tympani nerve. Okay, and posterior one third glossopharyngeal nerve for general and taste sensation, and posterior most part is by superior laryngeal nerve. When there is improper fusion, the anomalies of tongue comes. So macroglossia, when there is large tongue. Microglossia means small tongue. Ankyloglossia, there is the tongue tie, we call it, as there is improper separation, or there is a apical part of tongue is attached to floor of mouth, which is called as ankyloglossia or tongue tie, which is important when we give the patient for orthodontic treatment. Okay, and sometimes the foramen cecum, which separates anterior two-third of tongue and posterior two-third of tongue. From this, the thyroid gland or thyroid tissue descends and goes into neck. Sometimes this thyroid tissue remains in that place only, they don't descend into the neck, and they form there the thyroglossal cyst or thyroglossal duct. Okay, sometimes thyroid tissues are present in tongue, and when there is improper fusion of lingual swellings or the fine areas, there is presence of fissured tongue. Okay, and anomalies related to development of nose or improper fusion. First, there can be deviation of nasal septum, then there can be absence of nose on the single side, and there can be complete blockage when the sac does not properly deepens, so the air passage is blocked in between. Okay, now further we go for development of external ear. External ear is formed around first ectodermal cleft. Pinna, which is formed is external ear, is formed by fusion of mesodermal clefts on the two. Pinna is initially in the caudal or lower side, but when the jaw develops during the enlargement of mandibular process, the pinna is pushed upwards. Okay, and anomalies related to ear is anonychia. Anonychia is nothing but absence of ear, or can be aureal atresia, where ear is present but only few structures can be seen, proper ear is not known. Microntia is the small ear, or there is synonchia. Sometimes there is presence of auricular sinus, which is due to improper fusion of a mandibular process or mandibular and maxillary process with the ear placoids or auricular placoids. Sometimes there is absence of extraordinary canal. These are developmental anomalies related to ear. Now coming with eye, development of eye is by formation of lens placoid, as we saw with the development in frontonasal process. There is development laterally by lens placoid, and then there is formation of nasal placoid. So this lens placoids, these are ectodermal thickening which are present ventrolateral to the brain, and they are present lateral. So this is the lateral, and above that is cranial, lateral and cranial to nasal placoid. So as the nose develops, there is a narrowing of frontonasal process, and this lateral structures moves medially towards the midline. When this moves medially towards the midline, and nose is formed and eyes comes close to each other. So this lateral and cranial nasal placoid and ventrolateral areas of brain forms eye. It sinks below the surface and gets cut off the surface of ectoderm. And eyeball is formed by bulging laterally and forwardly of its eyelids, develop from the folds of ectoderm and mesoderm and enclosed within the folds. Okay, so here we complete with our proper paraoral structures, nose, ears, eyes, face, and face, medial understanding of medial nasal process, lateral, maxillary, mandibular process, and pharyngeal arches and structures is very important for development. Here in brief are the few MCQs or questions can be asked in the according to time period or days of intrauterine life when the milestones are achieved. Like when the embryo or zygote is 2 days old, there is the two cell stage embryo. Morula is formed by third day. Blastocyst is formed on fourth day. Bilaminardis, that is ectoderm and endoderm, are formed on eighth day. Embryo is implanted into endometrium by 11th day. By 14th week, primitive precaudal plate and primitive streak is formed, and by 16th day, mesoderm is formed. Notochord and heart tube are formed by 17th week. Folding of embryo occurs by 21st week, and by 4th week development of face has started. As we learned now, frontonasal, maxillary, mandibular process appears, nasal placoids, lens placoid which form nose and eyes respectively, and tongue starts the beginning. By 5th week, all the four arches, hypobronchial eminence which forms tongue, nasal pits, and the glands like thyroid, parathyroid, and thymus start forming. Pinna or ear starts to begin to form in the 6th week. As we also learned, palatal process or palate starts forming between 6th to 7th week. Maxillary process fuses in midline near about face completion is completed by 7th week. Enamel organs, or we can say tooth buds, what we can say, the tooth buds. Tooth buds appears in 8th week. 10th week, palatine process, nasal septum fuses, means near about development of face is completed by 10th week. Only the soft palate is not is completed by 12th week of development. These are my references from which we got it. Thank you. So I hope there is some important topic you got to know. Clearly learn about pharyngeal arches, clearly learn about frontonasal process and anomalies. Thank you.